Hi everyone and welcome to today's Figma tutorial. So today I'll be showing you how to create an interactive image slider using Figma variables. So as you can see, when I select any of these images, you can actually see that it actually changes corresponding to the image that I'm actually selecting. So this is going to be easy and I'll be teaching to you how to do it in Figma using variables. Alright, let's learn something new. Alright, so we're going to first create the thumbnails and the images. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of these rectangles right here. Then we're going to create one of dimensions. Let's go with 503 by 502. So that's going to be the first one. And then let's create another one. Duplicate this by holding Alt. And then we're going to give this the dimensions 96 by 100. So there we go. So this size will actually represent the thumbnails. Now let's actually they give this a color so that we can actually see them more clearly. So this size will represent the thumbnails, and then this will actually represent the images in full size. So now let's work on them. Alright, so let's use Unsplash plugin to actually get the images. So let's load that. Alright, so I want to type in model. So let's find images referencing that. Alright, so I like this image here, so I'm actually going to be making use of this. Make sure this is selected as you click on it. So we're going to have it fill that space, and then it's also going to fill this thumbnail. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can actually duplicate this. So let's duplicate this and let's have 4 of these and 4 of that. So let's duplicate this, hold Alt again, duplicate, and hold Alt again and duplicate that. Let's also duplicate this 4 times. So we're going to have 4 different thumbnails for the 4 different images. So now let's add another image here. Alright, so just make sure this and then this second one are selected, and then let's click on this image. Alright, so there we go. So next I'm going to select this image, select this, and then select the third thumbnail. Then lastly I'm going to select this image, select this thumbnail, then this, hold Shift, then. Alright, so now I've selected all the images and I've actually filled in all the images. Alright, so next I'm actually going to create some components. So go to this, and then we're going to create a component out of it. So right click, then we're going to create component. So this is the component here. Then we're going to call this component images. Then we're also going to create a component out of the first one here, and then we're going to also call it thumbnails, because remember this actually represents the thumbnails. Alright, so now let's first deal with the thumbnails group right here. So select this thumbnail component here. Then we're going to drop it down. As you can see, the image is actually within. So we're going to actually create components. So we're actually going to add some properties to it. So go here. Then we're going to add properties. We're going to add a variant. Then we have the default. Now we actually need more. But before we do that, let's stretch out this component. Now let's duplicate the default. Ctrl D until you have variant 4, as you can see right there. So now the next step shall be, we're going to drag variant 2 downwards. Below it, drag variant 3. Then we're going to drag variant 4. Right, so there we go. So now next we're going to replace some of these images. Drop this down. Now we're going to replace this image too with this. So click on this, copy, then go to where you have variant 2. Then we're going to paste to replace. Then copy this also. Copy. Go here, and then we're going to paste to replace. Same thing here. Copy this. Then go into image 4. Then we're going to paste to replace. Then we can actually delete these. So let's make sure that everything here is positioned properly. So let's go here. So inside here, wherever we have the image, make sure the image is selected. We're actually going to crop it properly. So crop it. We're going to stretch it out a little. I think that looks better. Yeah, but I think most of the others look okay. So let's look at this image in the default. Let's also crop this. Okay, I think that will look much better. Right, there we go. Then let's crop this image here. Let's drag it down. That's much better. So there we go. So there we're done with the with the thumbnails. Let's go back to the images right here. Then we're also going to work on them the same way. Then we're going to actually go to where we have this component. So now we're also going to add their properties. So add some properties. We're going to add variants. So let's duplicate the default. Before we do that, let's stretch out the component. So now when we've done that, we can actually now duplicate the default. Ctrl D until we have variant 4. So you can actually drag variant 2 below it. Then we can drag variant 3. Then lastly, we can drag down variant 4. Alright, so lastly, let's stretch out this component yet again. And there we go. So also going to replace the images again. So copy this, copy, paste to replace, copy this, paste to replace, and lastly copy this, then paste to replace. Alright, so next we can delete these. Then we're actually going to position these rightly. So position this. Okay, and that looks fine. Alright, so next we're going to go to the images right here. Then we're going to actually change some properties. So we're going to give them property names. The property here will be model. Then we're going to call this model 1. So that's basically the first image. Then when we go to the second image, variant 2, actually the property stays the same, but we're going to name this model 2. Go to variant 3, as you can see, property remains model. Call this model 3. Then lastly, this shall be model 4. So notice the property has stayed the same. And lastly, let's go to thumbnails. Drop this down. Let's get to the default. Then we're going to call these thumbnails. So that's their property. Then we're going to call this, let's also call this model 1, because it's the first one. Let's call this model 2. As you can see, property remains as thumbnails. And let's call this model 3. This shall be model 4. Right, so next we're going to place them actually on the frame. So now where you have these images here, we're going to drag the first image, copy, hold Alt, then place it on your frame. Then you're actually going to make copies of these. Click Alt, then we're going to place this right there. Duplicate the second one, duplicate the third one, then duplicate the fourth one. Just make sure the spacing is even. Alright, so it's okay. Alright, so it's important to note in Figma you can actually reference images in variables. So now let's first create those variables. Now we're going to create a variable of type string, then we're going to call it slide. Let's give it that simple name. And then first of all, we're going to make sure that the first image, so remember that we actually labeled them model 1, model 2, model 3, and model 4. So actually we're going to give it the string value model 1 for the very beginning. So that makes sure that it is actually the same as the name of the property you had actually given this. So remember this image here was initially given the property model 1. So this was model 2, model 3, model 4. This was also model 1, model 2, model 3, model 4. So you're actually going to have to keep that consistent. So now to this image here, so this is the image that is actually going to be variating or changing. So actually going to assign the variable to this. Alright, so let's assign the variable to it. So as you can see, you can click here and then we're going to assign the variable slide to it. So now the variable is actually assigned. Alright, so now that we've done that, we want to make sure when a user clicks on this image that the image will actually change to this image right there, of which this image is model 2. So let's actually do some prototyping there. So let's add a prototype, let's add an interaction. So it's going to be on click, set variable 2. So make sure we actually select the variable there, and then we're going to set it to model 2, because we actually called the other variable model 2. Right, so there we go. So it's actually going to set that to model 2. And then let's go to this, select this, add the same interaction. Then we're actually going to set this variable. So this is going to be model 3. So select this variable, then we're going to set the text to model 3. So it's going to reference the image called model 3. And then lastly, this is actually going to have the interaction also. Then we're going to set the variable. Now this is model 4. Select that variable, set it to model 4. And then lastly, because we want to be able to go back to the original image, so select this, add an interaction also. Then we're going to set this variable here to that. So we're going to have the variable slide, then we're actually going to set it to model 1. So that's what we're going to reference, model 1. So close that, and then let's test this. Preview. Let's scale this up, and as you can see, when I click on this, you can actually see that the slide is working just as we wanted. So that's actually how we create an interactive image gallery using Figma variables. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video really helped you. If it did, feel free to give the video a thumbs up, and then tell me below in the comments if the video really helped you. And then make sure to hit the notification bell so that you get updated every single time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.